Today's video will be based on calibrating a bucket with the Xsite Pro system. Select the left menu button. Select Main Menu followed by Buckets in the top left of screen. To recalibrate an already existing bucket, select the bucket and click Edit on the bottom right. In this menu, you can rename the bucket, start a quick calibration or full calibration of your bucket. Quick calibration is typically chosen when you believe there are inaccuracies in the bucket due to bucket wear or a similar issue. It only requires the bucket to be measured and a plumb line calibration, which will be covered later in the video. A full calibration is typically chosen when you believe there are inaccuracies in the bucket when the bucket is tilted. Click the tick on the bottom right of screen. To add a new bucket, click on the Add button. Type a suitable name for the bucket. In this example, we will adding a 1,500 millimeters wide grading bucket, which we will name Mud 1500. If your machine is equipped with a tilt bucket, tilt hitch, or tilt rotator with a corresponding sensor, select the Tilt Module button to cycle through tilt module options. If your machine is not equipped with any form of tilt module, leave this setting as not installed. Our example machine has a tilt hitch installed, so we will select Tilt Module Tilt Hitch. The tilt module may have been named differently in your machine. With the correct tilt module selected, we will now select the bucket type. There are many bucket types in the Xsite Pro system, and they are mostly visual. This means it is not imperative to match the bucket type exactly, but should be done when possible. We will select Grading Bucket. There are 3 measurements that need to be done in order to calibrate your bucket. The length or bucket length value is measured from the center of the stick/quick hitch pin straight down to the cutting edge of the bucket, as shown in the bottom images. It is very important to measure this length from the correct pin. All values should be measured to the millimeter and not rounded to the nearest centimeter. To measure the right and left widths, it is standard practice to measure the full width of the bucket's cutting edge and divide this value by 2. If the bucket doesn't fit tightly in the hitch, or you have an asymmetric bucket, you will need to measure the left and right width from the center of your stick out to the cutting edge shown in the image on the bottom right of screen. Once the values have been inputted, click the next arrow on the bottom right. In order to continue the calibration, the chassis of your machine must have a minimum roll value. To achieve this, simply rotate your machine slowly until the value next to roll turns green and stop rotating the machine. There should be 2 locations in a full 360-degree rotation where the roll value is green. Once the value is constantly green and the machine is stationary, press the next arrow. You cannot rotate the machine for the rest of the calibration. If you do rotate, you will get the same rotate machine screen. The next step is only for machines equipped with a form of bucket tilt capability. If your machine doesn't have a tilt, skip forward to the next step. Crowd your bucket towards or away from machine until the degree value is constant green. This is done to align the tilt axis horizontally. Once the value is green, you need to then level out the cutting edge horizontally, as shown in the picture on the right. This can be done using a spirit level or line laser across the cutting edge and tilting the bucket left and right until the edge is level. Once the edge is level, press Calibrate. Wait until the calibration bar has disappeared and click the next arrow. In this step, attach your calibration magnet with plumb line to the center of the stick/hitch pin shown on the right. The calibration magnet and plumb line is provided with all systems when initially installed. The calibration magnet is not a necessity for this step. However, if you do not have one, you may require a helper to assist in this step. Allow the plumb line to hang vertically down and crowd the bucket so that the edge is just barely touching the string of the plumb line and click Calibrate. Once calibrated, click the next arrow. We will now verify the accuracy of the calibration for our new bucket. Place the bucket flat on solid ground, making sure the cutting edge is touching the ground and not floating above as shown in the image. Make a mark on the ground where the cutting edge is and press the 0 button. Now, lift up the bucket and crowd the bucket away from the machine a significant amount and place the cutting edge back on the mark like shown in the image. The cut/fill value should be within 10 millimeters or 0.01 meters. The reach value should also be very close to 0, indicating that you are on your mark point. If the accuracy values shown are acceptable, click on the tick. If they're not acceptable, it is recommended to remeasure the bucket length again, making sure it is to the correct pin, and make sure the plumb line calibration is done accurately. For a machine equipped without a tilt, the bucket calibration and accuracy check is now complete. For a machine with a tilt module, it is easier to test the tilting accuracy in a 2D job site. Click the tick in the bottom right of screen and continue to click the tick button until you are back on the operating screen. From here, press the right menu button. Select the project menu on the top of the list. Click on Add, followed by Add New. Give the project a name, such as Test, and click the tick in the bottom right. Make sure the project type is set to 2D and click on the tick. With the correct project highlighted, click the next arrow to access the model's menu. Click Add, followed by Plane. We will leave the plane with its default name, but it could be changed if required. Click the tick button. We will use height mode, starting level, and starting level set to 0. Keep clicking on the tick button until we are back to the operating screen. We will start the accuracy test with tilt. Make sure the correct bucket is selected by selecting the left menu followed by Buckets. Select the current bucket and click the next arrow. Select Auto for the measuring point and click the tick button. Auto measuring point will automatically change the measuring point to the lowest part of your cutting edge once you have tilted the bucket. This is very useful to avoid over or undercutting and does not require manual interaction to select which edge of the bucket you would like to use for your cut/fill levels. Make sure the correct dashboard is also displayed. A surface height deviation measurement is required. The icons for this are now highlighted. Swipe the dashboards until you find the right value or create a new dashboard. Place the cutting edge on the ground and make a mark along the cutting edge. Press the right menu button and then press the 0 button. The plane model now matches the height of the mark. Tilt the bucket and place the corner edge of the bucket on the mark. In the front on Bucket Profile view, you can see the measuring point has automatically snapped to the lowest side of the bucket. The cut/fill value should be within 10 millimeters or 0.01 meters. Test the opposite side of the bucket by tilting the other direction and placing it on the mark. If the accuracy values shown are acceptable, you have successfully calibrated your bucket. If they are not acceptable, you must redo the full calibration. Measure the bucket length and widths again, making sure it is to correct pin with no rounding. Make sure the plumb line calibration is done accurately and the bucket is not tilted during the calibration steps.